Welcome to Oddball, Charlotte Wilder, Amin Elhassan. Amin, how you doing? What's today, Wednesday?
Today is Wednesday.
How are you? I don't ask you that enough, and I want to apologize.
It's Wednesday.
Okay. All right. So, as you may have guessed, the Sixers, we hear you laughing at. Which
I love the Charlotte, like the sidetracks just come out of nowhere. It's just, hey, you know what? Gonna start by asking him how he's doing. Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to switch it up. The headline here, let's just get into it. Fine. We'll just talk basketball. Sorry that I care about you. The Sixers are already hurt, and no one saw this coming, but Paul George hyperextended his left knee during Monday's preseason game against the Hawks. You will all remember that Paul George was brought over from the Clippers in the offseason. The injury, this still of it, it just looked sassy as hell. I loved it. Let's check this out. Yeah,
wow.
It's just like a nice little,
that's not fun.
It's like a dance move. It's like unfortunately, that was not what he was doing. He was getting hurt. According to Shams over at ESPN, Paul George has a bone bruise. But no structural damage to his left knee. And he's going to be reevaluated in a week. My question to you, Amin, is what is a bone bruise? And I'm pretty sure also this isn't a question. I just think I've claimed to have one before.
When you think about bones, how do they bruise? I think of bruising. I think of like flesh. I think of like blood. I feel like irritated tissue. The bone is kind of like underneath all that stuff. So I don't know what a bone bruise is, but it's something that happens a lot in the NBA. And as is pointed out to me a lot, hyperextending your knee is not an injury. It's just a description of what happened to your knee. You hyperextended it. So, is Paul George hurt? Yes. Does it hurt? Yes. Is he out for a long time? Probably not. But Charlotte, I got to go back to this is what happens, right? Because you had James Harden, and James Harden, for all of his flaws, he's reliable in the regular season. He shows up night in, night out. And he, like, in that way, it's a good counterpoint to someone like Joel Embiid, who is a little less reliable, right? And so you trade Harden away and you set yourself up because you trade Harden away because you didn't want to pay him. And then he calls you a liar and all that stuff. You set yourself up to have all this cap space so that you could go after George in the offseason. So in many ways, instead of paying James Harden, Daryl Moore chose to take that financial wherewithal and apply it to the PG. So you could say that he robbed Harden to pay Paul.
Oh my God. That's what that whole thing was for. And you have sunglasses, so you've been preparing this.
Yes, that was all a setup for me to do my CSI. Well,
okay.
I guess
congrats.
The shoe's
it was great.
On the other
it was
foot
awesome.
Now.
Okay, this guy shortly after Joel Embiid, he said in an interview, do you remember this with Tim Bontemps? If I had to guess, I would probably never play back-to-backs the rest of my career, which is his way of saying not trying to get hurt during the regular season. But unfortunately, this is what we've been saying, when I forget what show it was a couple weeks ago, and someone was like, are they going to be in the Eastern Conference Finals? I'm like, I don't see it because I feel like this is just going to keep happening. And the East got stronger in a way that I think these injuries are going to be a huge deal. And if we already have one in preseason, who's to say? I don't know. I hope this isn't the case, but Paul George got hurt during a preseason game.
Yeah, I would compare it to like when you're betting, right? You do like a parlay, that's inherently more risky than betting those two individual bets separately, right? The reward is greater, but you've added risk. And so for the Sixers, they knew that Joel Embiid is a health risk. They know it. I get why you have to pay him. There's only a handful of guys that impactful in the world, right? So you pay him and you say, we'll live with it. We're going to live with that risk. To compound that risk with more risk in the sense of in the form of Paul George makes absolutely no sense because you open yourself up to this very thing that these guys are unreliable. And I would venture to say, without even looking it up, if you look at all the other teams in the East, like my guy Tom Haberstroh says, everyone's great on paper. It all looks good. But if you look at all the other teams in the East that are of a compelling kind of championship contending status, The one thing you could say about all of them is their best players are they are durable, right? Like Tatum and Brown, they're durable. Jalen Brunson, he's durable, right? Giannis Antetokounmpo, for the most part, I know last year he missed some time, but overall in his career, he's a durable guy. These are all guys that we're like, they'll be fine. Philly?
Yeah.
Your top two players are guys that we like. The first thing we say is like, yeah, but he gets hurt all the time. And so that's the hot water they find themselves in, but they created it. They made this. They said they wanted to build this situation. They wanted to run with that risk. And again, like everyone else, knock on wood, I hope it's just, it's preseason. He'll be fine for the regular season. I hope Embiid is just being extra cautious when he says, I'll never play a back-to-back. But these are all things that's like, I can't feel bad for you as a front office. You knew what you were getting into.
Right. I mean, also, when you said that Tatum and Brown on the Celtics are durable, I did softly knock on wood underneath this table. I mean, this never seemed like a sustainable plan. Buckle up, Philadelphia. But how far do you think that this team can go if Embiid and Paul George are out for a lot of the regular season? And does it matter what their seed is by the time you get to the playoffs, as long as they're in it, if Paul George and Embiid are healthy?
Yeah, you're basically asking me
that's kind of what happened last year.
Yeah, you're asking me, okay, what happened last year? Yeah, Tyrese Maxey did his best. He played great. Team wasn't good enough. They fell from 2 all the way down to 7. Had to play in the play-in. Ended up winning in the play-in because Miami had a brain fart towards the end of their game. And then they go up against the Knicks. And Embiid was great, but also clearly compromised. And they lost a very tough series. And if that's your goal, to win in the play-in and then lose a very tough first-round series, well, then, yeah, I think they can absolutely repeat that. But your goal is something greater, and I think they just – and again, nothing has happened. Opening night is a week away, but from where I sit, your job as a front office is to mitigate risk, and they did not do that this offseason. I love the Caleb Martin pickup. I love it. Kyle Lowry is there. Andre Drummond. I love that they brought back Kelly Oubre. I love Tyrese Maxey. On paper, great. But did you do a good job of mitigating risk, Daryl Morey? I would say no, you didn't.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got to move on to the West real quick because there's a rookie we need to talk about. I mean, he's an international player. He is notable for his height. His flashy plays have been all over my Twitter For You page. I don't know about you. He recreated an iconic photo. And I'm talking, of course, about this man, Yuki Kawamura, ladies and gentlemen, the 23-year-old 5'8" guard from Japan. His no-look passes, everyone's just flipping out about him. And I saw a few and I was like, okay, I get it. I get the hype. We can't show Yuki's actual passes, but we can show you Magic Johnson's impression. Yeah. Thank you, Magic.
Thanks, Magic. You're a great seatmate, Magic. That's why I had to show. That's my guy.
Never going to hear the end of this.
Well, I'm just saying, he sat in front of me, made a joke about a traffic jam getting in the seat. He laughed, James Worthy over here laughing, everybody laughing. It was, Hall of Fame things. You wouldn't understand. Oh, yeah, no, you guys are super close, for sure. The Grizzlies, though, they signed Scottie Pippen Jr., which I was like, oh, okay. I didn't expect to see Scottie Pippen Jr. on a roster, really, but the Grizzlies, he's what? He played well for the Grizzlies last year when everybody was hurt. Remember they had this cavalcade of people that are just, hey, you want to be an NBA player? And Scottie Pippen Jr. was like, I'd love to be an NBA player. And so then he played well, and he's played well for them in camp. And this is, I guess, his reward. He gets upgraded from a two-way to a full-on, grown-up NBA contract, which is still minimum. All right. Sorry, I was too busy thinking about how his mom was dating Michael Jordan's son. Look, anyway, you leave your salacious journalism, air quotes, to the Pablo Torre show. You don't bring that over here. This is a sacred space. Well, it's not. But here's the thing. Yuki doesn't have a roster spot anymore. So what's the logic behind not giving this fan favorite a shot over Scottie Pippen? Tell the people why we're not likely to see Yuki on that roster. Well, so first of all, obviously it's not an unlimited roster. There's a limited amount of roster spots, and some of those are earmarked for two-way deals. a lot of teams like to leave a roster spot open to start the season because they say if we engage in a deal that has 3 players coming back and 2 going out, or 4 coming in or 3 coming out, basically, if we're to accept 1 extra player, you have to be able to have the roster spot before the deal can be consummated. So they keep that spot open for that. The other thing also is Memphis is a small market team. They don't have a gajillion dollars coming in from their local TV deal like the Lakers, like the Knicks, like the Celtics. So every additional person that I have to pay for who's not going to materially impact my season, I'd rather not. I'd rather tell my boss, here's our tab, and it's less than what it would have been if I kept this fan favorite around. Also, one last thing, just because he doesn't make the final roster, and again, that decision hasn't been made yet, but should he not make the final roster, that does not preclude him from being called up later in the year as a 10-day or even as a 2-way deal if they make some deals and open up some roster spots.
Right. There's still hope. Also, I mean, are you hedging your Zack Edey take it all? Speaking of the Grizzlies, Edey on Monday had 23 points, 9 rebounds, 1 steal, and shot 10 of 15 from the field. And I hear that our good pal Dan Lebitard also asked you about this because
he texted me. It was just a screenshot of the stat line and a picture of Zack Edey, and he said, "Any thoughts on this?" And I screenshotted the NFL preseason records, and atop the AFC East was the New York Jets, and they were 3-0. And I said, "Any thoughts on this?" Like it's so funny that
got him.
Everybody, but I'm just saying, like, is preseason a thing for you people now? That's what your solutions are. Because the reality is this: I'm gonna tell you right now, there's not a vet in the NBA who plays hard in the preseason. It might look like it, and especially if you're a young player, you might think, "Oh my God, these guys are playing really hard. This is really good." But the reality is, they're not, because they know there's another gear, and then there's another gear after that when you get to the playoffs. And that's the thing that shocks a lot of young players. Like, oh shit, I thought we were all playing as hard as we can. Oh no, they're going, there's more levels on this guy's elevator than mine. And like, I'm sorry, you posting up Isaiah Jackson, Zack Edey, tremendous. Yeah,
I thought you meant me. I was like, yeah, I'm glad someone finally noticed that.
Yeah, do it again in the regular season against real players.
Do it in the playoffs.
Yeah, no, not even the playoffs. Do it against, you know what? Everyone thinks I'm going to say, do it against Embiid and do it against Jokic. No, do it against Daniel Tice. Do it against Mason Plumlee.
Oh, come on.
Do it against Andre Drummond. Yo, you think it's easy. That's because that dude you were posting up is 6'7".
I don't think it's easy. I'm not saying it's easy. I just think that
he's going to be awesome.
I just think Zack Edey might be a little bit more up to the task than you do.
Okay.
Take us home, Amin, with this last topic.
2 words for you then. Jahlil Okafor. Look that one up, kids.
Okay. All right.
Last topic. All right. Victor Wembanyama. It throws me off when they're like, you're teeing up, and then I was like, oh shit, this one's my turn. Last topic. Victor Wembanyama, in an interview with Sports Illustrated, commented on the work ethic of NBA stars in the league. Here's what he had to say.
Some of the guys I've been watching growing up, I'm not disappointed, but I'm like, that's it. But some of them, talking like KD, of course I get to know Rudy Gobert even more with the national team. I know their work ethic. There are current players I admire, yes, especially KD. Because I've seen the behind the scenes.
Okay,
now,
so my main takeaway from this is that
what?
Wemby is impressed by KD.
I thought I was teeing it up. Let me tee it up, Charlotte. Charlotte's like, I got this. Look, I was going to make a little joke about, I wonder what Rudy Gobert's work ethic is about. It's about complaining. Does he work on that? But Charlotte, are you offended that Victor Wembanyama would just out so many stars across the league by saying, I'm not impressed?
No, I mean, this is he's the future of the league, and this is what we saw at the All-Star game. He really cares. He cares a lot, and he's bummed that he's not even bummed. He's pissed that other people don't care. So he's going to continue to call people out. And you know what? He is good enough, and he is going to continue to get better and be great enough that, sorry, vets, there's really not much you can say to that.
I just love the idea that this is the guy who's going to carry the banner for us. Like, make the NBA care again. Right. That's there you go. That's who he is. Well, I mean, okay, you get it. Yeah. But I'm not. Look. Hey, relax. But the point is, we need someone of influence, of a position of relative power, to be the one that says it. It can't be me, goddammit. It has to be someone real. He's as real as it gets. We all kind of expect him to be the best player in this league in a handful of years. So I would love to see that best player in the league not only be about it, because I think LeBron has been about it and Steph Curry has been about it and Kevin Durant obviously has been about it, but to be vocal about being about it. Like, hey, what you guys are doing, not good enough.
Well, don't sell yourself short, Judge. You're a tremendous slouch. And when we come back, you've heard of the GM survey. Have you heard of the Oddball Survey? You're about to.
Is it just us doing the GM survey?
Well, welcome back to Oddball. I mean, we touched on this yesterday during Trivia Tuesday with David Sampson, which was a great episode. Everyone should go watch it. The NBA GM survey was released last week. And this is, you know what this is. If someone watching does not, it's when 50 of the league's GMs anonymously react to key topics before the season tips off. And the strange thing about this, Amin, is that it's a wild coincidence that we also conducted our own Oddball Survey about the upcoming season. The Oddball Survey is also completely anonymous, and the results are in. Do you want to go through them?
Yeah, sure. The anonymous, huh? Okay.
Yeah, it's anonymous. We don't know who
voted for what. That's right. We don't know
anything. We don't know anything. The first question is,
that should be our title. Our slogan. We don't know anything.
Clueless. Haha. Which team will win the 2025 NBA Finals is the first question.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Okay. Interesting.
The GMs are on the left. We're on the right. The GMs, 83% said the Celtics, 13% said the Thunder, and 3% said the Mavericks. 3% of 30 is what? Like one person? So
sure.
Yeah. Meanwhile, 100% of the Oddball surveyees picked the Thunder.
So what's interesting about this, Amin, is that according to my sources, one of the Oddball surveyees felt maybe compelled to vote for the Celtics because of certain fan tendencies. But I'm also told that surveyee thinks it's very hard to repeat in the NBA, especially in 2024. And that surveyee recently went to a Thunder preseason game and is they look amazing. I mean, they look incredible.
It's funny. I also have some insights from one of the voters who wanted an option, said, I have no idea. But apparently that wasn't available. So then when forced to chose the Thunder.
Oh, well, consensus. All right. What do we have for question 2?
All right. Question 2. Who will win the 2024-2025 Kia MVP award? Now we look at the GMs. 40% said Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, which makes sense. If you think the Thunder are going to be the best team, he's the best player. 30% said Luka. And then Embiid, Jokic, and Tatum all receiving votes. Meanwhile, over in the Oddball Survey, dead heat between Luka and Tatum, the finals matchup.
Wow. Well, I'm hearing from one of the surveyees that they felt maybe compelled to. But you know what? Sorry, I can't do this. I think that Tatum. I think that Tatum has what? Nothing.
Okay.
Okay. If I were to have answered this survey, I would have said that I think I'm going to go with Tatum because I think that it's the riskier bet. It's the riskier choice, but it is because of you, as you've said, the Celtics are seen as a team's team. They don't say, what? Why are you?
What are you doing? It's not, hey, what's the biggest payoff on DraftKings Sportsbook? Promo code Oddball. It's who's going to win the MVP. Why are you like, well, let me keep the riskier one?
Well, if you let me finish.
Well, I didn't stop you. You stopped yourself.
Because you were stopping me visually. Okay. So here's
I can make faces.
Okay. Here's what I'm saying, I mean, is the kind of thing where if I think that there's a chance that Tatum's going to do it and I'm like, oh, is that too risky? Should I not? And then at the end of the season, he does it. And I'm like, oh, you were a wimp and you didn't just say it. So I'm just saying it. That's my thought process.
That's an even worse explanation than what you had originally. So your explanation is, it's because I had the thought, I would hate for it to against all odds come true and say, oh, I had that thought. And everyone's like, sure you did. That's why you picked that?
Yeah, there's a bigger payoff for the riskier thought before it happens than
Payoff
like
where? We're not betting any money.
for my own reputation.
Nobody cares. Who'd you pick last year? Doesn't matter.
I don't
Nobody
know.
cares. Nobody cares.
I can't.
Next question.
All right. Okay. The third question. Which team made the best overall moves this offseason? The results are in. The GM said 33% Sixers. Well, that's bizarre because
Well, they
Paul
did this.
George, but
They did this a couple weeks ago. They didn't do it yesterday.
okay, yeah. No, I know, but still. The Thunder, 37%, 10%. I can't read that. What is that one?
Other?
10% other, and then 20% the Knicks. I think the Knicks, it's the sexy, flashy move of Karl Anthony Towns, but Oddball Survey says 100% the Thunder.
Yeah, I got another survey for people who make charts. I got to put you guys in with my kids and learning about the use of colors, like and readability is A1 among all options. But I mean, look, the Thunder already had a great team, and they went out and they got Isaiah Hartenstein, who's not even going to start for them, and they went out and they got Alex Caruso, who will start for them. And you say, wait, this is already a great defensive team. They got two great defenders as well. Offensively, they're amazing. These are two guys that bring something on the offensive end. It's hard not to like what the Thunder did above everything else. Sixers, great on paper. Knicks, we'll see. All right, next question. Who will win the 2024-25 Rookie of the Year? This one doesn't get sponsored, apparently. The MVP is the key MVP, but the Rookie of the Year is just any old Rookie of the Year. The GMs, 50% said Reed Shepherd, 30% said Zack Edey, and 13% said Stephon Castle from the San Antonio Spurs. Meanwhile, the Oddball Survey, 50% agreed with the 50% of the GMs and said Reed Shepherd, while the other 50% went with Alexander Sal in Washington.
Start with the SAR percent.
Well, look, this is how I will explain how Rookie of the Year gets done, right? It's always a guy who gets to play a lot of minutes and do whatever the fuck he wants, right? If you play for a good team that has playoff aspirations or greater, it is so fucking hard to win Rookie of the Year. You have to be just amazing beyond anyone's comprehension, right? So John Morant, like on Rookie Year, something like that, right? With the team. But even that team was not expected to be good. If it becomes good because of his play, that's different. You talk about Zack Edey in Memphis. You talk about Reed Shepherd in Houston. Those are teams that if those guys weren't there, the expectations are still there. We expect Houston to be competing to get out of the play-in and get into the playoffs. We expect Memphis to definitely be in the playoffs. And if you're me, I think this is how they think, their ceiling is conference finals or higher. So the idea that like, oh yeah, these guys who are going to be like, their coaches are trying to win games are going to let them make mistakes and play through it and all that's not going to happen, folks. Sarr, he's on Washington, a very unserious team. The world is yours.
Yeah. My only rebuttal, the reason that a certain surveyee might have said Reed Shepherd is because if he's as great at threes in the NBA as he was in college and he just blows people's minds, then I do think that there's a good chance even on that team. Question 5, who's the best head coach in the NBA? This is embarrassing for one of the Oddball surveyees. But 69% of the GM said Spoelstra. That's really the big takeaway because 50% of the Oddball survey said Spoelstra. Yeah. The other 50% said Crazy Joe Mazzulla. That's actually what was written in, not just Joe Mazzulla. It said Crazy Joe Mazzulla. Yeah. What are you going to do?
What you're going to do is pick someone that's not Crazy Joe Mazzulla. That's what you're going to do.
All right. I mean, it was for the bit. It was for the bit.
Oh, okay, sure. Oh, wait, we're doing a bit here? Wait, do we know? No. Do we know who the respondents are?
Yeah, the respondents are. Do we have that? Oh yeah, the respondents are my dog and this person who works at Dunkin' Donuts.
You don't own a dog.
Well, right. Look, I think we did a great job. I think that was a great Oddball survey, great GM survey. Good job to everybody. And that's all we have for Oddball. We will
Michael
see
Jordan,
you tomorrow.
Greatest player of all time.